doing something similar like we did last week, where we're going to be having a live Q&A, and we'll just kind of chat about different health concerns that you may have. Some of the questions that you have, I can answer them for you, and yeah, we're just going to kind of get things going like that again. So first I want to check in with all of you. How's everybody doing? I hope you all had a great week since I last saw you. There were some questions that you had last week that I helped you out with. So I want to know, how has it been since, there's somebody saying there's a mic echo. Great, I'll this again. How has it been since those kind of things that I helped you out with last week, those questions that you had? Let me know if you kind of took any of the tips that I gave you and how things are going. And I'm going to try to figure out this mic situation. Okay, let me know. Can you hear me better now? Is it still echoing? Sorry about that. Okay, so some people last week were saying some things about they wanted some diet tips, some exercise tips. So how did that go? And now we can kind of build back on that. Is there anything that we need to help you out with further? Did you come into any obstacles or any issues with those tips that we had? Were you able to kind of follow your health goals, or was it a little bit challenging? So let me know in the chat, and then I have some questions that were asked through Instagram, so I'll be addressing those, and then I'll answer any of the other questions. So I don't know what to do about the echo. That's okay. Well, I'll try again to change it, but we can just continue going on like this. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay, so somebody mentioned that it's always kind of challenging, but tips for having small meals has helped. Okay, that's great. So yeah, sometimes having smaller meals can help with things like acid reflux and things like that too. So that can be helpful to having smaller meals, can help with managing just excess hunger and like listening to your body and knowing kind of when you're full. So that's helpful too. Okay. So I don't know what to do about the mic. Everything, my browser is muted. So sorry about that. We're just gonna have to probably go with that today. I don't know why this time it's not working. It was okay last time, but yeah. Okay. So does anybody have any other questions from what you were asking me last week? Do you have any other questions about any new kind of health concerns that came up? We talked a little bit about immunity last week, but do you have any questions now moving into the change of season into the fall? Do you have any questions about that at all? So like I was talking about last week, there's certain herbs and stuff that are helpful for helping with boosting your immune system. So I can mention them again because I think this is a pretty popular thing right now, is people want to make sure they have good immune systems going into the fall season, or just maybe getting back to work or getting back to school. So like I mentioned, echinacea is a helpful herb that you can take. And then also the other one that I mentioned was like astragalus and cotinopsis. Those are helpful herbs that you can take to help gently boost your immune system and your immunity. And then making sure that you're also having like lots of fruits and vegetables in your diet, because when you have excess things like excess sugar, excess wheat, excess dairy, those can cause inflammation and weaken your immune system. So some tips for moving forward into the fall season would be to have more fruits and vegetables and less of the sugary foods and refined foods, because those can actually weaken your immune system. Okay, I'm gonna try this microphone. Somebody's mentioning their eyes watering when the seasons change, so I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see if this works better. Okay, let me know, does that work better? Is it still echoing? I've changed the mic up, so let me know. Okay, so somebody's saying that their eyes water when the seasons change. So that can be due to different changes in like the environmental things, like the trees, pollen, and even going into the fall, just that change in season, change in weather and temperature can have an effect on the eyes, and sometimes that can even be due to things like histamine. So histamine is released in our body when we experience some allergic reactions. So something like vitamin C is helpful, but also something like a supplement called quercetin, that's helpful too, to help with the allergies and the immune change as well. And the season changing and affecting the immune system. But making sure, again, that you're protecting your eyes. Maybe in the summertime you need to wear sunglasses, or in the winter time, and making sure that you're still properly dressing with the season changing. So making sure you're staying warm and wrapped up, that can help even with the immune system and the immunity. So I would suggest probably looking into something like boosting your immune system with some types of herbs or supplements, or making sure you're having a good healthy diet always is important for helping to boost the immune system and helping with changing through the seasons. Okay. So somebody's asking about echinacea. So I'm just getting you the proper spelling for quercetin. Okay. So is echinacea something that is taken as a preventative measure? It can be both. So it can be preventative. It can help with boosting the immune system in a kind of gentle sort of way, but it can also be helpful for fighting off infections. So if you are experiencing a cold, like runny nose, sore throat, coughs and colds, it's really helpful for fighting off the infection, but can be done so for an immune support as preventative, helping prevent. But it's not something you want to be taking like preventatively every day. Something like vitamin C you can take daily, but echinacea would be more so like I'm kind of talking about if you're going on a trip and you might get sick on a trip, or if you're expecting to go back to work or back to school and you get sick often, or like we're talking about changing in the season, then it's okay to take then for a short term, but it's not something you want to take long term. You never really want to take anything long term, but specifically herbs, you shouldn't be taking them long term. Okay, so let me know if you have any other questions, and how is the microphone? Is it better? And then I'll go into some questions that I had through Instagram. So one of the questions was, what's natural tension headache remedy? So let me know in the comments, is headache something that you experience? It is a pretty common symptom that a lot of us get, and there's many different types of headaches. So let me know, do you suffer from headaches? Is that something that you struggle with? So this is a good question, because I feel like a lot of people struggle with headaches. So there's different types. So the one that this person's asking about specifically is tension headaches. And there's also migraine headaches, and then there's cluster headaches, and there's different types. But tension is basically what it sounds like. It's usually due to like tension in the muscle around the neck and the shoulder area that's causing some strain and pressure on the head, and that will cause pain. Also can be due to stress, like stress tension, nervous tension as well. So how can we address the tension headaches? What can we do for them? So number one thing that's really good for helping with headaches in general is staying hydrated. It's been shown through studies, and even people say like when they drink water they feel better, their headaches kind of reduce. So drinking water, staying hydrated, and like having at least 1 to 2 liters a day is important. Aiming for 2 would be better. That's important for hydrating the body and helping your body stay hydrated, your muscles stay hydrated, everything will be nourished and prevent like muscle spasms, muscle aches that can lead to these tension headaches. So that would be the first thing. The next one that's really helpful for tension headaches is magnesium. So I've talked about magnesium before, and it's really helpful for soothing muscles and irritation also. So if you like muscle cramps and spasms and just tight muscles too. So taking some magnesium can be very helpful for tension headaches. It's probably one of the best ones to use. And it's a mineral, so it's not something that you have to worry about like a herb or having difficulty accessing it. It's pretty easily accessible. So magnesium, there's different forms of it. There's different forms of magnesium, but the one that's pretty good for migraines or for headaches in general, for tension headaches, is magnesium bisglycinate. So that form, if you look into it, you'll see that it's helpful for like the muscle aches and muscle tension. So different ranges in terms of doses, but generally doses will start around 150 milligrams, 200 milligrams. So that's something you can start with and try that out and see if it helps you. You could take it every day, depending on the time of day. It really doesn't matter. Sometimes it's nice to take it in the evening because it can also help relax you and help with sleep. So that's a nice time to take it. Or you can also take it in the morning, whatever works for you. That's would be a good one to take. Another thing for tension headaches would be to address like the cause of them. So is it tension in the neck? Is it tension in the shoulders? And probably going for something like a massage or some sort of therapy to help really relax it. But you can do stretches yourself, and I'll show you some stretches that are really helpful for tension in like the neck and shoulder area. So one of them is basically you take one hand and you bring it on the side of your head, and you can pull your head this way, and then you can bring your other arm behind your back, and this will even help really intensify like the stretch. So if you go like that, and then you can even turn your head and like look down as if you're like looking under your armpit, and this will help get in the back of the neck. So if you do that, and again, same thing on the other side, so it's just hand to the opposite side of the head, holding it this way, and then down like that. So that's a good one. You can do that at your desk when you're just sitting all day. You don't want to be pulling it too hard. It's a gentle stretch. The hand is just kind of to like guide it. And again, same thing with this one going down too. It's just to guide it. It's a nice gentle stretch. You could hold it for about 15 seconds and do it a couple of times on each side. It's a nice way of really stretching out the muscles and relaxing it. So that would be what I would say to do for tension headaches. Make sure you're hydrated with water, do some stretching, and then look into a supplement like magnesium. So thank you for that question. Okay. Let me answer another question from Instagram, and then I'll see what else is going on in chat. All right. So somebody's asking about period cramps. So what can you do for period cramps? So I'm not sure if I've talked about that on the channel before, so that's a good one. Let's go through that. So period cramps can range in terms of intensity for people. A little bit is normal, but you don't want it to be too intense. So if you have very intense period cramps, if you find that you are, have to lie in bed all day and for many hours all through the day, if you're taking lots of Advil or painkillers, you might want to look into seeing if there is another cause, like an underlying cause that's causing these cramps. So is it a hormonal imbalance? Is it a fibroid or a cyst or something internally that's going on that's causing it? So that would be number one, just to see how severe is your pain, and then look into getting things addressed. Number two is if everything's okay, then there's many different things that you can do to help with cramps. So let's start with diet, so I can talk to you about diet. So having a diet that's low in inflammation, so like an anti-inflammatory diet that I've talked about many times before, that can be helpful because excess inflammation in the body can increase our body's response to pain receptors and increase menstrual cramps. So things like dairy tend to be a trigger, and that's specifically, there's A1 casein, which is like the protein in the casein, that can be specifically a trigger for causing inflammation and worsening period cramps. So dairy could be a trigger. A lot of fast and fried food can be triggers, and this is just in general. Maybe you don't have menstrual cramps, but other people that are listening, if you had other aches and pains, other soreness, then this still applies. This still applies in the sense like these foods cause inflammation and they can worsen your pain or make you feel less energetic. So I would say look into avoiding those certain things maybe around that time of month or weeks leading up to it. Alcohol could be another issue for causing inflammation, so looking at avoiding alcohol around that time too. And then you always want to add things in the diet that are going to be helpful. So we're going to add in anti-inflammatory things. So I've talked a lot about inflammation and anti-inflammatory foods. So let me know in the chat which foods are anti-inflammatory, and I'm pretty sure you're all going to get this right because there's many and you've all have been listening to me over the past several weeks. So we'll jump onto that in a second. So anti-inflammatory foods. So adding those in your diet are very helpful for reducing inflammation. So that would be diet, basically removing things that are inflammatory and maybe even removing things that are personal triggers to you. So this goes for things like headaches, this goes for things like joint pain, for brain fog, maybe for bloating, maybe you have certain intolerances. So same with cramps, maybe there's things that trigger your cramps. So kind of knowing what your intolerances are. And then in terms of supplements, there are certain ones that are helpful that you can take instead of taking Advil. So ginger, I've talked about ginger before, it's super anti-inflammatory and it helps with reducing menstrual cramps, and it's been studied with alongside in studies with Advil, and it works just as well. So it's less side effects and you can use it. So you can take ginger capsules. They're very helpful, easier to take. If you don't want to take capsules, you could try ginger tea. You'd have to make it pretty strong, and you probably won't get the same effect as like the capsules or the chewable tablets. So ginger is a good one for helping with cramps. Another one that's helpful with cramps is fish oil, and that's because of the anti-inflammatory effect. So fish oil would be something that you would take more regularly, like daily, whereas the ginger, you can take that at the onset or even a couple of days before, and it's more of like an urgent relief, symptomatic relief, right? Whereas the omega-3 would be, the fish oil would be more long-term, that you could take that to help with it. It probably wouldn't work instantly like the ginger does. So those are some things for period cramps. Even magnesium that I was talking about with headaches can be helpful for period cramps too. So number one would be looking into your diet, avoiding anything that's causing inflammation, so avoiding the big inflammatory triggers, and adding in some anti-inflammatory things. So in the chat, somebody mentioned garlic, so garlic is helpful too. It's good for the immune system, it's good for reducing inflammation and blood pressure in the body, so it's helpful. Other things would be fish, like I was talking about fish oil, so just salmon, lots of healthy fats, so you got like nuts and seeds, avocado is a good healthy fat, extra virgin olive oil, these are all good anti-inflammatory things. Blueberries, you got your antioxidants in there. Green cruciferous vegetables are helpful for moving things along the digestive tract and helping eliminate any waste. So those things you want to add more into your diet. They're very helpful and very supportive for reducing inflammation. Okay, so let's see what else people are saying in the chat. I found myself to be sleepy after eating Chinese food. And why is that? So is it just after Chinese food, or is it other times? Sometimes people do feel sleepy in general after eating, and that can be because it's taking our body some time to digest that food, so our energy is going towards digestion. So if you're eating a big meal, maybe you ate a big meal when you had the Chinese food, it's taking some energy away from your body towards the food to digest it, or maybe there's something in the food that is causing you to be a bit sleepy. So sometimes when you go to restaurants, they can add certain things in the foods like MSG. Sometimes that can bother some people. Maybe for you it makes you sleepy, or excess salt too can dehydrate you a little bit. That can make you sleepy. So it could be that in sense of the Chinese food, it could be specifically things added to it. In general, for getting sleepy after eating can be due to the fact that your body has to take some time to digest that food, and if you're having a really heavy meal or a really carbohydrate heavy meal, it can cause that too. Okay. Tension in the jaw. So tension in the jaw, I think we're talking back about the tension headaches. Yep, so that's similar. You can get jaw tension, and that can cause headaches too. So that would be more to do with the joint, the TMJ joint that we have here. So magnesium can still help for that. Doing like jaw exercises, so like opening and closing the jaw and moving it back and forth. Even massaging on the jaw area, you can do that yourself. You can do acupuncture on the jaw, so if you go to do acupuncture, so you can do massage, but acupuncture on the jaw is helpful too, to help release tension. And then even topically, you can apply magnesium topically. You can apply like a mint essential oil, that's helpful for, peppermint essential oil is helpful for tension, headaches. So even if you have a headache here, you can put it there, or you can roll it on here. That would be some helpful things for tension in the jaw. Yeah. All right, let's see the other questions. Okay, so another question was, my blood test result, neutrophils is 1.7. What does that mean? So neutrophils are your white blood cells. They're a type of the white blood cells, one of the most common abundant ones in the body. And then your white blood cells, I've talked about this in the how to boost your immune system video, but your white blood cells are basically what fight off infections and what help you fight off infection and boost your immune system and just help you recover from sicknesses and illnesses. So when you're exposed to certain viruses or bacteria or certain infections, that can have an impact on your neutrophil levels. So 1.7 in this case is a little on the lower side. So usually around 2 and above, or 2.5 and above is considered like the normal range. So 1.7 is slightly low. So sometimes that can happen. Sometimes, with some people, first off, their neutrophils can vary. Maybe that is actually what is normal for you, and you might not know that unless you look at other blood work that you've done. So if you have a history of always having it low and everything is fine, then that's maybe just your normal level. But if you're noticing that in the past it was normal and then now it's low, so maybe you were exposed to some sort of pathogen, and maybe you were fighting off an infection and you maybe not have known, or maybe you were sick, and then that can cause them to go a little bit low because they were working hard to fight off the infection, and then they can go lower in number. It's not super concerning, and if it was very low, then that's something it would be more concerning to look at, but always just talk with your doctor about, why are they low? Would they be considered doing other testing? But just more so think about during that time, do you remember if you were sick or if you were around somebody that was sick, and it could just be due to that. That's usually the most common thing. Sometimes even having nutrient deficiencies can cause it too. So if you notice you have other nutrient levels that are low, maybe that's also it, because your blood cells do need nutrients, also part of it. But I would say talk with your doctor about that if you are concerned about it, but that those levels can vary. Sometimes they can even be high when you're sick too, so because they're ramping up to fight off an infection. If they're low, maybe you were getting off, just getting over a cold or something. Okay. And then what could you do? You can just basically support your immune system. So kind of like these things that we were talking about today, having some herbs to help support your immune system. Vitamin C is really great too. And I believe echinacea is helpful for supporting the white blood cells. So maybe having echinacea or some vitamin C can be helpful too. Okay, does anybody else in the chat have any questions for me? I think there was one more question from Instagram. So just give me a second. Yeah, so let me know if there's any other questions you have. So the other question was nutrition tips. So that one's pretty general, so I'm guessing they just want some general support in regards to nutrition tips. So kind of like I was talking about before with diet, I usually always suggest to people to add things into their diet before taking things out, because it can be challenging to take things out unless we're trying to identify a trigger and it really is bothering you. But instead of saying, okay, stop doing this, try adding things into your diet. So that would be number one tip for nutrition, would be adding something into your diet. For example, adding a handful of berries into your diet every morning for breakfast to get some good antioxidants in. Or adding in a quarter cup of walnuts to get some good healthy fats and some brain support and energy support into your diet. Rather than saying, okay, I'm going to stop having all the chocolate and all the cake, because that can be very challenging. So the more that you add in healthier foods, you might notice that you start feeling better, and then automatically you'll want to eliminate those ones that are maybe making you feel worse. So number one would be adding in some healthy things in your diet. So like I said, blueberries and berries are a good one because they're pretty easy to have. Having some healthy fats, because we all usually tend to lack in that. So that would be things like walnuts, almonds, salmon, avocado, olive oil, coconut yogurt. Those are all great healthy fats, nuts and seeds. And then even maybe adding in some, some protein into the diet too. So that kind of brings me into number 2 point, would be making sure your meals are all balanced with protein, carbs, and fats. So in terms of nutrition, we want to make sure our meals are balanced with all those. So number 1 would be protein. So that includes like plant-based proteins or meat protein. So plant-based proteins would be things like legumes. So you got beans, chickpeas, lentils. Those are legumes that have good plant-based protein in them. Quinoa is good plant-based protein, and then like nuts and seeds. And then the meat proteins would be things like beef, chicken, fish, pork. Those are eggs also. And then there's also like tofu, tempeh, which are good sources of plant-based protein. So every meal should have protein with it. Okay, and then always have healthy fat. So like I was talking about those ones before, and then a good carbohydrate. So I talked about the plate method before. Basically, you picture a plate. Half of the plate should have like lots of colorful vegetables. That's going to get you some good carbohydrates in there, some good sources of vitamins and minerals. That's really going to nourish your body. A quarter of the plate would be filled with a good quality protein, and then the other quarter of the plate would be a good carbohydrate, like a non-white refined carbohydrate is better. So if you have like brown rice, or if you have sweet potatoes, or if you have some legumes in there, some quinoa, buckwheat, those kind of things, or whole grains, oats, breads are better than having like white refined things. So that would be a tip for having always a balanced meal, having half of it with veggies, a quarter protein, quarter of a complex carbohydrate, and then healthy fats on the side. Okay, so nutrition tip number 1 was to always add into your diet. Number 2 was to follow the plate method to make sure your thing is nice, and make sure your plate is nice and balanced. And then number 3 would be still trying to stay hydrated with water, and limiting the amount of sugary foods. So once you get numbers 1 and 2 good, then you can start eliminating things that are really, really sugary. And like I've talked about, the thing with sugar is we tend to have it too much in excess, because you don't realize it's in so many things, like even things like ketchup and sauces, in baked goods. It's in lots of baked goods. It's in juices and soda. So eliminating that, like slowly trying to take that out of the diet. If you have a lot of it, if you don't, then that's great. But if you do, try to take that out of your diet, and that can help reduce inflammation in the body, which I've talked about is great for helping reduce pain, aches, headaches, digestive upset, hormonal issues. It's really good for all of that. So that would be, I would say, like 3 nutrition tips for you. Would be to add things into the diet, like good antioxidants, healthy fats, have a balanced meal, and then try eliminating things like excess sugar. Okay. So I've answered all of those questions. Yes, I did. Okay, so let me know, do you have any other questions for me about anything that you may be experiencing? I want to see. If not, then that's okay. I'll just give it a few more minutes. don't think there's any other questions. And then in terms of things I wanted to talk about, it was more so just helping with supporting your immune system, as now, like I mentioned, the seasons are changing and stuff. So I've always talked about, like the diet, just making sure your diet is filled with lots of fruits and vegetables. So some tips, what you can do is just slowly add it into each meal. So breakfast tends to be where we probably don't eat as many vegetables or fruit. So try to add some into your breakfast, whether that be half a cup of some berries or some other fruit. If you're having more of a savory breakfast, adding in some chopped bell peppers, some chopped carrots. Just have these things ready to go so you can have them in the morning. At lunch, adding in another smaller serving of some sort of vegetable or fruit, and same with dinner. So that would be like some tip to you to get in some good vitamins and minerals. You don't have to always take supplements, right? Diet is the best and the most important thing. So if you're getting in some good quality fruit and vegetables into your diet, that can be helpful. And then also having protein is important too, because we need protein to help make our antibodies, which help fight off infection. So protein is great. So adding that in again throughout the day at all your meals. If you're having those good balanced meals, then that's going to support your immune system. Okay. What is something that you learned or researched recently that you would like to share with us? That's a good question. What did I learn recently? I'm sure there's lots that I was reading about. Well, there's actually been a lot of talk about proper vitamin D absorption and making sure you're taking it with magnesium. So it's something that we learn in schools, like proper pairing of supplements. But it was like I saw a lot of it recently, and it just kind of reminded me again about how important it is to have proper supplements together and then ones to avoid together. So something like I think the reason why this came out is because there was so much talk about vitamin D being important for immunity, and then there was now a lot of articles out about being making sure you're taking it properly. So if you're just taking the vitamin D but maybe you're not absorbing it too well, and if your blood levels are not changing, then it could be due to you have a magnesium deficiency, and that is pretty common for us to have magnesium deficiencies because it's in a lot of things like leafy green vegetables and nuts and seeds. So if you are taking vitamin D, then trying to pair it with magnesium is great for helping absorb it. So I'd say that would be something that I learned recently and that I can share with you, because if you are taking vitamin D, try taking it with magnesium too. If you take both of them at the same time, then it can help it absorb it even better. Okay. What is some advice to get a better sleep pattern? I know avoid blue light. Is there foods to avoid or consume? Okay, so in order to get better sleep, I think I've talked about the sleep hygiene tips before. So yes, avoiding blue light, at least avoiding electronics in general 1 hour before going to bed. And it can be challenging, but it can help make a huge difference with the blue light. Another thing would be making sure your room is really dark and cool. Trying to go to bed at the same time every night and waking at the same time every morning. But in terms of foods to avoid or foods to consume, so you want to avoid really heavy meals before bed. Even things like really spicy things that can just aggravate the stomach or digestive system. And things to consume would actually be a complex carbohydrate meals. Those, having that is actually better than a high protein meal. So you actually would want to have more protein in the morning, and then later in the evening having still having protein, but having a more complex carbohydrate meal can be helpful for calming down the nervous system and helping with sleep. So at your dinner time, maybe having something like brown rice or having a sweet potato, that can be helpful too. And then also we want to have a stable blood sugar overnight. So if you're eating your last meal at 6 or 7, but then you're going to bed really late, like you're going to bed at midnight or 1, you might actually not have a stabilized blood sugar, and you might notice that you're a little cranky or not being able to fall asleep because of that blood sugar imbalance. So you might need to eat something small, a small meal. But ideally trying to go to bed earlier would be better, but that can be something that can help out with that. In terms of like other things to consume, there's certain teas that can help with relaxation. So lavender tea or chamomile tea can help with helping you relax and feel relaxed and restful before bed. But I would say avoid really big meals, avoid things that are difficult and heavy to digest. More of like, I think that's even what like protein is a little bit harder to digest than a carbohydrate. So like something like sweet potato or brown rice is a little bit easier for your body to digest carbohydrates. We digest them pretty easy. Okay. Let me know if that was helpful or if you want more tips about that. Is it better to stick with a strict diet that consists of the same thing, that is healthy on a regular basis, or is it okay to have a generally healthy diet and have the goodie from McD's once in a while for reasons of mental health? It's definitely okay to have something once in a while, but it depends how much once in a while ends up being. I would say like once a week would probably be too much. If it's more of like you get takeout maybe once a month, twice a month at the most would be better. It's better to try to stick with the diet, but you never want it to be super restrictive, that you're avoiding things that you enjoy having, because like you said, mental health is important, and if you enjoy having an ice cream, that's okay. But you want to make sure that you're not like, oh, I'm feeling down today, I need to go get an ice cream to cheer me up. You don't ever want to think like that. You don't want to have to be dependent on food to cheer you up. You want to be able to figure out other things that can help cheer you up. Even going for a walk can be helpful, talking to a friend. But it is okay, yes, of course, to enjoy a treat once in a while. Overall, though, like you want your general diet to be pretty healthy and pretty anti-inflammatory, and that can be helpful. Carbon fiber sleeping masks or just sleeping masks can be helpful to help you sleep, because it helps keep the room nice and dark. Okay. And then like just talking about blood sugar and stabilizing things, I was just looking at a food article talking about millet. Let me know, has anybody tried millet? I actually don't think I've tried millet. So this article is about, maybe we can share it. Let's see if I can share it. Can you all see this? This is millet. It sounds like a mullet. Blanket. I'm going to show you on my screen if you can see it. So it's saying, this is saying like these 6 millet-based lunches will help keep your blood sugar stable. Anyone tried this? So it's saying, what is millet? It's a member of the cereal family, and it looks like a seed. Interesting. But it has like protein and lots of copper, folate, magnesium, B1, B3. I've never tried millet, but it has a low glycemic index, which means that it like won't spike your blood sugar. It's actually lower than rice, corn, and refined wheat. Basically it's showing how it would affect blood sugar. So they're saying you can do like millet pilaf, which is like you add in herbs and vegetables and stuff to it. Millet burgers, sweet potato, and millet with beans, salmon, and millets. So it's pretty much just like adding it into, here I can post the link for you all. But maybe it's something you want to try. If you want a new food to try, let me know. And yeah, okay, let me just get rid of this. Okay, so I'll post this for you all to see. Nice, easy to remember, fresh millet. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a little health tip for you if you want to try something new. Try out millet. Maybe I'll try it too, because I don't think I've ever tried millet. I tried buckwheat and like couscous and quinoa and some of the other ones, but I've never tried millet. So maybe I'll try out millet. I'll probably try out the one with vegetables that's like all chopped up and see if that's good. Okay. Let me know if you have any other questions, but it's pretty much almost been an hour here, so I think we can just wrap up for the day. And yeah, so thanks everybody for coming again and chatting this week. We'll kind of keep the same thing going with just answering your health questions, and I think that's helpful for helping people. Maybe I'll try to get some more cool, interesting articles or new things that have happened in terms of health-related things. I think people like learning about new superfoods or new healthy diets or things like that, and we can kind of chat about those kind of things. But yeah, I think that's all for this week, and I'll see you all next week again. We'll chat at the same time, same place, and I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend. Enjoy the nice weather out there. Bye.